Greetings and thank you for taking the time to check out our latest video presentation. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we've made it our mission to look at all the different church leaders and church denominations and people making claims of established facts, evidence, proofs, so-called truths, and claims of the Bible being infallible, irrefutable, and so forth. So today we are looking at one man in particular who was granted a publishing contract by the Vatican, and he put out a few books. He wrote some and he had them printed and distributed and sold. So he became well known. And he was also commissioned by the Vatican to translate for them the ancient or the old Masoretic text. Okay, so he did, and to his shocked surprise, he found underneath the common Bible stories, he found a completely different story. Only problem is, being Italian, an Italian speaker, fluent in Italian, he doesn't speak much English, so he's had to have translators to translate what he's saying, or what he said, into English for him. Okay? So people will understand what he's found, because he's trying to reveal exactly what he's found through his personal research, translating, etc., etc., of the Masoretic text. Okay, so this video here, it has subtitles, right, as it says here. It's Mauro Biglino versus the theologians of the day. Subtitles in English, part 1. Okay, so we'll review this as we go along.
Ed è una domanda credo che sia rivolta tanto Mauro Biglino.
Okay, just turn it down a little bit, be a little bit loud. Okay, here it starts off and it says, okay, there's one theologian. Here's probably another one, and there's another one next to him. He's a priest, Mauro Biglino over here. And this presenter, this narrator, has said, this question is, I think, or she thinks, both for Mauro Biglino and for the experts of the Ancient Testament or the Old Testament, and probably the New, who know what we're talking about.
Biglino quanto a tutti coloro che sono sicuramente esperti di Antico Testamento, che sanno della citazione di cosa stiamo parlando. La citazione è Numeri 30.
The quote is number 31, or Numbers 31:15, after the Holy War against the, supposed to be the Midianites or something like that. There is the division of the booty. Yahweh has given oxen, lambs, and 32 virgins. Yeah, I'm sure that's the Midianites.
1:15. La domanda è: dopo la guerra santa contro i Madianiti vi è la spartizione del bottino. A Yahweh spettano buoi, agnelli e 32 vergini. A quale scopo?
He's just asking why. Why is he saying that? Why would he be giving oxen and virgins? So Mauro Biglino, he replies, then as far as I'm concerned, or he's concerned, of course, this is one of the dozens of statements, dozens of biblical passages in which he finds the confirmation of what he said in the beginning, okay, that the Ancient Testament or Old Testament, etc., doesn't talk about God. Okay, because what's happening with this guy is everyone else is after him. There's some that like say you can't talk about this, stop doing that. But there's other ones that say, well, he's uncovered a truth that we've known about for years and years, or centuries or whatever, and eventually it's going to come to the surface, so why not now? So they're not against them, they're sort of for them, but they're still defending their belief system, their faith, whatever. Okay, their organised religion. Okay. So he's basically exposing what it actually says. It's not in accordance to what these people, people interpret it, translate it. Okay. So he says the Ancient Testament doesn't talk about God, the Old Testament doesn't actually talk about God.
Quanto mi riguarda, ovviamente questa è una delle decine di affermazioni, decine di passi biblici nei quali io ovviamente trovo la conferma a ciò che ho detto all'inizio, cioè che l'Antico Testamento non parla di Dio, ma parla appunto di...
But it talks about an individual, okay? An individual who has established an alliance with a people based on precise rules. It was an individual in flesh and bones, and I know this is defined anthropomorphism. Okay, what's that? Let's have a look. Anthropomorphism. Define that word so we don't have any misunderstoods or misunderstandings. We don't have a word, we haven't defined it, so we don't know what it is, and we could possibly take that sentence out of context. Okay, misunderstandings, right? We tell everybody else, this is what it means. We're baffled because we don't know what it means. Okay, Wikipedia. Anthropomorphism is the attribution of human traits, emotions, or intentions to non-human entities. It is considered to be an innate tendency of human psychology. Personification is a related attribution of human form and characteristics to abstract concepts such as nations, emotions, and natural forces such as seasons and weather. Okay, for a more easy one to understand, definition of anthropomorphism: an interpretation of what is not human or personal in terms of human or personal characters. Humanization. Children's stories have a long tradition of anthropomorphism. Even shorter definition from Cambridge Dictionary: the showing or treating of animals, gods, and objects as if they are human in appearance. Anthropomorphism, in which someone sees human-like attributes in a non-human, is often associated with the bonds between humans and their beloved pets or possessions, etc. And there's some more here. The interpretation of non-human things or events in terms of human characteristics is when one senses malice in a computer or hears human voices in the wind. Derived from the Greek anthropos, human, and morphe, form. The term was first used to refer to the attribution, etc., etc. It's a literary device that can be defined as a technique in which a writer ascribes human traits, ambitions, emotions, or entire behaviours to animals, human beings, natural phenomena, or objects. Yeah. Some more down here. In religion and mythology, anthropomorphism is the perception of a divine being or beings in human form, or the recognition of human qualities in these beings. Ancient mythologies frequently represented the divine as deities with human forms and qualities. So hopefully you understand what that means. Got a good understanding of that.
Un individuo che ha stabilito un rapporto, un patto di alleanza con un popolo. Ha stabilito un patto di alleanza sulla base di regole precise, era un individuo in carne ed ossa, e se so bene che si dice che questa è antropomorfizzazione, però in realtà mi verrebbe...
But Mauro says he's like you to say that if the ancient biblical authors have anthropomorphized or morphized in this way, he's not joking, then they might have had mental problems, as they made God one of the most unpresentable persons in the history of mankind. So he's not mucking around, right? Okay, he's thinking they may have had some mental problems.
Da dire che allora se gli autori ebrei, insomma gli antichi autori biblici hanno antropomorfizzato in questo modo, faccio una cosa che vabbè non è una battuta, ma dico avrebbero avuto dei problemi, perché hanno reso questo individuo che dovrebbe essere Dio una delle persone, stando a ciò che c'è scritto nella Bibbia, più impresentabili che ci siano nella storia dell'umanità. Quindi,
so the fact that he ordered genocides or en masse killings,
il fatto che lui fosse uno che, come lo leggiamo nella Bibbia, ordinava dei genocidi, nel passo,
as we read in this passage, Numbers 31, in the first part, Moses gets angry with the military leaders who are coming because they had left alive the woman.
31 citato, questa è la seconda parte, perché la prima parte c'è Mosè che si arrabbia con i comandanti dell'esercito che tornano, e il passo è lo stesso, sì, dell'esercito che tornano, e si arrabbia perché dice: ma avete lasciato in vita tutte le femmine? E allora adesso,
Then he says, this is Moses, take all the women with children and kill them both. Then take the remaining women and keep them for you. And who is he talking about? In that regard?
fate così: prendete ogni donna che abbia un bambino, uccidete lei e il bambino e tenete per voi le altre ragazze. Qui tra l'altro sono
There are several studies from scholars and Jew experts where the term tafnu euphemistically means woman, but more probably little girls. So what does that word mean? Youth. Hopefully I spelled it right. Okay. Defined euphemistically, in a euphemistic manner, his violent death was euphemistically referred to as a passing away. Okay. A euphemism is an innocuous word or expression used in place of one that may be found offensive or suggests something unpleasant. Some euphemisms are intended to amuse, while others use bland and offensive terms for concepts that the user wishes to downplay. Euphemisms may be used to mask profanity or refer to taboo topics such as disability, sex, excretion, or death in a polite way. Okay, let's look for a shorter definition. The substitution of an agreeable inoffensive expression for one that may offend or suggest something unpleasant. Also, the expression so substituted. A mild, indirect, or vague term for one that is considered harsh, blunt, or offensive. Euphemisms such as slumber, room, abound in the funeral business, Jessica Mulford, etc., etc. Okay, so what he's doing is he's replacing this word here, woman, right, because it's kind of harsh, kind of blunt, but more probably little girls. Okay, tafnu euphemistically means woman, but more probably little girls.
Un problema in più, ci sono degli studi molto seri che poi pubblicherò, studi fatti da accademici, dove lì si fa, e anche da, voglio dire,
he uses this word so it won't be offensive with this word.
Lì il termine tafno,
hinting at something that's offensive.
Ragazze, ma lì probabilmente si arriva a parlare di bambine.
To some.
Di bambine.
This is linked to what Rachis de Troyes suggests, as mentioned before by Dr. De Porter, I think it's this guy here, when he says that Isaac, in the Bible, supposed to be married to Rachel, I think, married his wife when she was only 3.
E questo richiama, per esempio, ciò che dice Rachid de Troyes, che è stato citato prima dal dottor Di Porto come appunto forse il massimo commentatore ebreo di tutti i tempi, quando dice che Isacco, nel commento alla Genesi, Rachid de Troyes dice che Isacco ha sposato sua moglie quando aveva 3 anni. E quindi
these are interesting passages from his point of view, with his method that he used, right, when he interpreted or translated the Masoretic text from the Hebrew and the Greek order. his point of view with his method that of course may be criticised. Yeah, because if he reveals that what it actually says, and it's, you know, as it's written, that's what it's saying, then yeah, he's going to get people coming at him because they don't want people to know that that's what it actually is saying, as we'll see.
Questi sono passi che danno veramente da pensare, quindi dal mio punto di vista, sapete, io dichiaro la mia scelta metodologica, che ripeto, poi può essere messa in discussione, ma io vado avanti su quella, ci mancherebbe. Quindi c'è chi legge la Bibbia simbolicamente, c'è chi legge la Bibbia grammaticalmente.
You can read the Bible symbolically, you can read it blindly. I try to read it literally and see what comes up. That's what he's saying. Yeah, I do the same thing.
C'è chi legge, io la leggo, provo a leggerla letteralmente e vedo cosa viene fuori. Quindi questo passo per me.
So this passage, Numbers 31, he's talking about, is not surprising to me because it is perfectly coherent with that character. He's talking about that deity, right? I'm pretty sure he's talking about that deity. Or maybe that Isaac, but I think he's talking about the deity. There are named 32 ladies, there's the number of oxen and donkeys.
32 fanciulle, insomma, c'è anche il numero degli asini e il numero dei buoi, tra l'altro, che sono attribuiti a lui. E francamente io ho difficoltà.
Frankly, it is difficult for me, Mauro, to think of a God who demands a percentual part, of the booty, of the spoils.
A pensare a un Dio che dice a me spetta questa parte qui, una parte percentuale ben precisa. Quindi io ritengo che
he thinks, Mauro thinks that this would be logical and coherent with the image that comes from, it's a mistake there, the literal reading of the Ancient Testament or the Old Testament.
Si tratti di un discorso logico e coerente con quell'immagine che secondo me ovviamente, viene fuori dalla lettura della Bibbia dell'Antico Testamento così com'è.
Maybe Ario de Porto, this might be this guy here, wants to intervene, or is it the guy next to him with the yarmulke?
Se Ario di Porto vuole intervenire, vuole usare informazioni.
Must be this guy here. If only I understood what's the verse, cause it reads probably in Jewish. Okay. Biglino over here saying 31:15, Numbers 31:15. De Porto, this guy here. I am at 31:40. Presenter, here I read 31:15. I confess I'm not competent in the matter of Ancient Testament or Old Testament. That's that lady speaking. Presenter?
Sì, 31:15 mi è stato scritto qua. Io confesso non ho assolutamente competenze del Nuovo Testamento.
From the audience, Moses told them, this is coming from the audience, right? Someone out there saying something? Moses told them. De Porto, at 31:15, there's Moses who gets angry. It's another story. But Biglino, Mauro Biglino over here, says no, 31:40. Look at 31:40. At 31:40 it reads Jewish. I don't know if he's saying that or this guy's saying it. Yeah, it sounds like he's saying, well, it's in Jewish, so it means, De Porto, Jewish term, doesn't mean virgin. Doesn't mean virgin, question mark? That's what this guy's saying. Biglino, no, it means living persons, just to specify his idea. Okay, from when he translated it. probably his understanding of it, or whatever it was. Biglino, Mauro Biglino, the fact that it is translated with virgins refers to the fact that only them should be left alive after the extermination ordered by Moses killed the men and the women that have had children, and the children, I suppose. The others should be killed.
Riferisce al fatto che le uniche persone rimaste vive dopo lo sterminio ordinato da Mosè erano ragazze vergini, perché gli altri dovevano essere uccisi tutti.
Deporto. So we put some action into it. So what he's saying is, okay, it's a drama. Okay, you got to put some excitement into it. You know, some something that gets you stirred. You know, like a movie. You know, you have some dialogue and you got to put some action into it, or else it's just going to be dialogue, boring. You know. So yeah, it's got to have some action put into it. And that's what he's suggesting. Oh, let's put some action in it, eh? Biglino, it's not action. It is written there, right? Or written here. That's what it's actually written as. Right? What he said about Moses ordering that all those people die, except for these living persons or these women or these virgins, young girls, right? Now he's stumped. He's got no answer. I repeat, this is probably Mauro Biglino saying, I repeat, because it's important, I pretend that what is written is true. Then you can say it isn't. But that's another question, see? So, yeah, he pretends it's true, right? And this guy can say it isn't, because that's how it works, right? But that's another question. That's how it could end up, you know?
Perché è importante, io faccio finta che sia vero ciò che c'è scritto, dopodiché si potrà dire che non è vero, ma allora è un altro discorso. Io però il mio metodo è questo qui e io.
But this is my method, this is how he does it, how he's translated it, the way he's translated it. To answer your question, I say that this is written, that's what I read, and that's it, okay? He's translated it, and that's what he's saying, it's basically written there.
Provo ad applicare questo, quindi in risposta a questa domanda che è stata fatta io dico qui c'è scritto questo, leggo questo e...
Yeah. This guy looks stumped. So now he's stumped. So what does he do? He talks to his neighbour.
Abbiamo osservato una cosa, che i Vangeli non sono un fatto storico.
He's totally stumped, so he's got to talk to his panel neighbour, panel partner. Priest, a minute, can I say something? This is the guy here. Next to him. Maybe he's Roman Catholic. So he's saying, let's take the text that is 3140, 3131, because we have to start from the beginning to fully understand the text. So maybe he has to go back before that, you know, like instead of starting at 3140, jump back to say numbers 3115, something like that, or 1415, whatever, right?
Andiamo sul testo e il testo è 31-31 perché se dobbiamo partire dal 31 per capire bene il testo. Moses
and the priest Eleazar did as the Lord ordered to Moses, and then it continues. This is what he's saying from his interpretation.
E il sacerdote Eleazaro fecero come il Signore aveva ordinato a Mosè. E poi dopo continua il discorso. Allora,
priest, then what Mauro says, Biglino, is true from the audience. Can you repeat it, please? Sarcastically, as the priest has a foreign accent, maybe Spanish. Okay, so he's saying then what Mauro says is true. Okay, or if what he says is true,
È vero quello che dice Mauro. Aspettate.
No, he's saying, wait, don't clap.
Allora,
Sarcastic,
è vero,
I suppose.
ma c'è la
Then it's true, but there is the interpretation. I'll explain. So he's agreeing that what this Mauro Biglino is saying is written there is true, but it's like, and also there is the interpretation, and he tries to explain it. Right? This is from his perspective, what his understanding of what it's when he interprets it, basically, what it says. What's it saying to him?
l'interpretazione. Mi spiego una cosa.
Presenter, silence please, audience, basically. From the audience, let's hear. Okay, subtitles are not always correct.
Allora, Mosè e il sacerdote
Moses and the priest Eleazar did as the Lord ordered to Moses.
Eleazaro fecero come il Signore aveva ordinato a Mosè. E poi parlano
Then it talks about the army, the livestock, the booty.
degli uomini dell'esercito, del bestiame, dei capi del bestiame, grosso.
The number of the head of cattle, 700,000, 61,000 donkeys. These are the spoils.
700.000, 61.000 asini. Allora, e le persone.
Then you have to understand something from my point of view. See, it's his point of view, not the church's point of view. This is his point of view, how he sees it, right? It's his perspective, his opinion. Okay.
Dovete capire una cosa. Io lo dico dal punto mio di vista, ripeto, non è il punto di vista della Chiesa, è il mio punto di vista. Ho la possibilità.
I have the possibility to interpret it as I want to, no? Right?
Di poter interpretare come voglio. No, non posso.
Can't I? Presenter, of course he can. He's talking from his point of view, as I just stated. So yeah, he's got that free will, that choice to. Bilingo, Biglino. Excuse me, it's his point of view. Everyone's free to do it. So you say he's agreeing, right? Yeah, just let the guy talk, give his opinion, right? His view, whatever. See, Bilingo, I declare to read literally, he declares to interpret. It's fine. Yeah, he translates and takes it literally. This guy just interprets it and has his own view, perspective, whatever. It's all right. It's all good.
Letteralmente, lui dichiara di interpretare, va bene tutte e due.
Allora,
Priest, then I repeat, it's my point of view, and given that I'm a rational person.
Allora, ripeto, è il mio punto di vista e siccome sono una persona razionale e posso giudicare.
And I can judge through the sacred scripture and a biblical exegesis. Okay, what's the exegesis? Take a look at that. Exegesis definition: exposition, explanation, especially an explanation of, or critical interpretation of a text. How to use exegesis in a sentence. Did you know? From the Greek, to lead out a critical explanation of, or interpretation of a text, especially a religious text. Traditionally, the term was used primarily for work with the Bible. Okay, here's another one, easy one. Quick look here. Definition of exegesis. Definition: critical explanation or interpretation of a text or portion of a text, especially of the Bible. Exegesis means using the words of the text in Scripture through the lens of the original context to determine their intent. and so forth. Explanation or critical interpretation of a text, especially of the Bible. Okay, hopefully that's you understand that. I need to clear those words up for myself as well, so I don't have any take it out of context or misunderstandings or misunderstoods, or don't have a definition for it, so I have a problem, understanding how it fits into that sentence, or take this sentence out of context.
Attraverso le sacre scritture e soprattutto attraverso anche una esegesi biblica o la capacità.
I have the mental capacity to interpret a text or not. Yeah? Does he have the intelligence to interpret a text or not? Okay. Or the ability?
Tale di poter interpretare un testo o no.
And then the audience say, "You already said this." He's repeating himself.
Allora.
Then, if we start from this point of contrast and screams like that, like at the San Siro Stadium, we can't go on from the audience. Come to the point, okay? They seem to think he's stalling, right? He's mucking around. Get to the point, sort of thing.
Se partiamo da questo punto già di contrasti e di grida come lo stadio di San Siro, allora non andiamo avanti. Allora.
Priest, then when Mauro Biglino, it looks like he's like, oh, what the hell? When Mauro Biglino talks, he talks from the historical point of view of the translation. Okay, so he's not actually, he's trying to fit it with the historical. That's what this guy's trying to say, not with the translation in the Bible, in the scriptures. Okay.
Mauro Biglino quando parla, lui parla dal punto di vista storico e dal punto di vista di traduzione. La traduzione
translation of the Bible, of the biblical books, always leaves space to the interpretation of the reader. Yeah, that's how you interpret it, right? If it's in the English, you have that Western mindset, etc., etc. It's how you perceive it, okay, and how you interpret it, basically. Yeah. What's it saying to you?
Della Bibbia e soprattutto dei testi biblici, in questo caso, ma anche in altri casi, lasciano sempre il dubbio dell'interpretazione e di colui che ha trascritto un testo biblico. Dio non ha bisogno di testi.
God doesn't need livestock, is what he's saying. Okay, you know that in the Jewish tradition, it was usual to bring lambs, oxen, doves, and sacrifice. Yeah, that's pretty well known because it was a required sacrifice, wasn't it? You had to bring one of those. Okay, required by that law. Instruction, Torah.
E voi sapete bene che nella tradizione ebraica, e qui abbiamo il rabbino, si portava offerte di sacrificio di agnelli, di buoi, di colombe, si portava sacrificio per...
Priest. It was customary or tradition to sacrifice because, and then from the audience, also little girls. Sacrifice little girls. Priest, little girls. Oh, okay. The Ancient Testament or Old Testament is full of gods who weren't. They were empty statues who demanded human sacrifices. Okay, so they were idols. For example, in Egypt or across the ocean in the Inca civilization, it was customary to make human sacrifices, okay, to appease the gods, get the good harvest, etc., etc., get rain. The Old Testament is full of gods who weren't actually gods. They were empty statues who demanded human sacrifices. And then he jumps to this. It's a complete jump to Egypt, Incas.
E c'erano anche nell'Antico Testamento, abbiamo tutti i dei
As examples, I suppose.
Non erano statue volte che portavano sacrifici umani. Abbiamo anche nell'Egitto, passiamo l'oceano verso la civiltà Inca e la civiltà, ecco, e dunque si facevano sacrifici umani, ma Dio non ha bisogno.
But God doesn't need these sacrifices. It is man's wrong interpretation that lead to this point. And of course the text was translated in a manner that was coherent with the historical period. This is my interpretation, he repeats. Right? Okay? So that's basically what he's saying. He doesn't need those sacrifices, that human sacrifices, animal ones, etc., etc. Okay? It's man interpreting the scriptures wrong, or what he's saying is wrong to this point. Okay? And it was translated in a manner that was, fits with the that era, the historical period, that era, that age, okay, that day. This is his interpretation. He repeats it. That's his interpretation, right? His understanding of it, what it's saying to him.
È l'interpretazione sbagliata dell'uomo che ha portato a questo punto.
These other guys look bored.
Il testo è stato, come tante volte, tradotto in una maniera che ha fatto piacere in un contesto storico di quel tipo. È la mia interpretazione di questo.
So the presenter says, thank you for that. Next question is, the next question that is a synthetic of similar questions is for all of you. Okay, that's what she's saying. Presenting them.
Varie domande simili che racchiudo in una unica e che può essere rivolta praticamente a tutti i nostri relatori, perché riguarda.
It concerns the alleged cruelty of the biblical God, a God of war who kills his enemies and kills thousands of people who don't obey him.
Diciamo così, presunta crudeltà del Dio della Bibbia. È Dio che chiede la guerra, un Dio che fa morire i popoli nemici, che spesso fa morire anche migliaia le persone che non lo obbediscono. Quindi come si può giustificare questo?
Presenter, so how can you justify this bad God? How can God do such things? From the audience, why doesn't he hear the question? This guy here. Why is he not listening to the question? He's busy reading here, or he's not hearing it.
Dio, diciamo così, cattivo, vendicativo, se davvero può essere un Dio, una cosa del genere.
Why is he not listening to the question? Biglino, I answer for first. Cause to me is very simple. Okay, that is not God, so it is all justifiable. Okay? I answer for first because to me it is very simple. That is not God, so it's all justifiable. Okay, it's not God as in what Christians believe in, the Spirit God or Spirit God the Spirit. It's a different God. It is normal that is the governor of a folk, or he's a ruler of those people. Okay, he's a normal human being or a normal being, and he acted as his colleagues did. Just read the Mesha Stele. We're going to do a video on that, probably. Have a look at that. Where Mesha, king of Moabites, Jews' cousins, as they were Lot's offspring, or his descendants, descendants, did for his Elohim, Kamosh. Never mind what a Elohim means, as we could discuss it for weeks. Because there's many meanings to it, apparently. We'll see what he says. Exactly what the Jews did for their Elohim, Yahweh. So for me there is no need for an explanation, as that isn't God for me, of course. Okay. Sacrifices and oxen and all that sort of stuff, right? And virgins, all that sort of stuff. Why does he need them? Why did he need them? Presenter, a synthetic answer from the others. Yeah? From these other guys. something that synchronizes with it, I guess. Shortly, I've read the Ancient Testament, or the Old Testament, with great fatigue. It's made him very tired or very weary. And the conclusion I came to is that man never invented a so bloodthirsty divinity as the God described here. Who's saying that? This guy here? Mauro? Oh, this guy here. The porter or something. What his name is. Okay. So, we're going to have a look at the second part to that. Well, actually, this is the first part. Introduction. Okay, we'll have a look at that. It's in Italian, but it's got subtitles. Yeah, it looks like those priests and etc. were stumped. Okay, we're not looking at this one. Yeah, this one. Oh, what? Here we go. Start that one again. That thing, I don't know why it jumped.
Sapete, io parlo di Bibbia, no? Quindi come dico spesso, come dico sempre, non parlo di Dio, perché la Bibbia non parla di Dio. Come sapete, io parlo di Bibbia, no?
As you know, I talk about the Bible, so
come
as
dico
I'm
spesso,
usual to
come dico
say,
sempre, non parlo di Dio,
he doesn't talk about God.
perché la Bibbia non parla di Dio.
Because the Bible doesn't talk about God, luckily.
Diciamo che in genere la Bibbia un po' non
Let's say
parla
that
di
in
mondi
general the Bible
spirituali.
doesn't talk
Ovviamente
about
vi offro
spiritual worlds.
una
I clearly offer you a literal
chiave di lettura, che è
interpretation.
la chiave di lettura
I know that
letterale.
different
So benissimo che
interpretations
esistono
exist.
tutte le altre. L'importante però è
What is
farsi le
important to make
convinzioni
your own
proprie,
ideas
che
is to
poi
have all
ciò
the
che è
elements.
fondamentale è avere a disposizione tutti gli elementi. Perché noi abbiamo a
Because what we
disposizione
have is just
soltanto gli
surface
elementi,
elements.
quelli sovrastrutturali, cioè noi, siccome appunto la Bibbia
That
può
is
essere
given
letta
that the
in
Bible could be
diversi-
read
a
at different
diversi
levels.
livelli, diciamo così, va bene, e noi finiamo per
We end up
conoscere
to
soltanto
know
gli
only
altri
the other
livelli,
levels.
cioè nel senso che quelli che ci vengono raccontati,
Meaning
che
that
ci
those
vengono
levels we are
divulgati, sono i
taught
livelli
or
che stanno
taught are the
sopra.
surface ones here.
E
only
molto
see what's on the
spesso
surface.
dimentichiamo,
And we
o
forget,
peggio
or worse,
ancora,
never know
mai
the very
abbiamo
basic
conosciuto il
livello.
livello base, che è ciò che c'è scritto.
That is what it is
Quindi
actually
noi ci
written.
sentiamo raccontare ciò che
So
magari
we
la
know
Bibbia
that the
voleva
Bible
dire,
meant to say, but we don't know what it actually
ma
says.
non sappiamo che cosa la Bibbia ha detto.
Yeah, that's why
E secondo me è fondamentale intanto
I
sapere
think
che cosa
Christ
la Bibbia ha.
spoke in parables because, and then the disciples ask him why. And he says, "Oh, because people have ears, they have eyes, etc., etc., like that, but they can't hear, they can't see." It's right in front of them, right? All the answers are right in front of them, but they just can't see. Okay, because they're not really paying attention or focused, or like, yeah, they don't really want to hear it. They have ears, but they're deaf. They have eyes, they're blind. So it says, "To you the secrets of the kingdom of God are revealed." That's why he spoke in parables. Because it was a mystical type thing, mysterious thing. So they had to search inwardly and ponder it, and then eventually come upon what he was talking about. Right? Because they were so they didn't realise what he's actually talking about. Like he'd say something to them, and they'd say something silly, right? Which was way off target. Like, let's say, for example, Nicodemus said, Christ said to him, well, you must be born from the head, you must be born from above, etc. Right? And he says, oh, we're born again. How can a man, old man like me, enter back into his mother's womb, right, and be born again? And you're saying, well, you're like this Pharisee, intelligent, all that sort of stuff. You don't get it, you don't understand it, you don't, meaning that you had to have a renewed mindset, born from the head, above. Yeah, how come we don't understand that? Yeah. And here's the other stuff in the parables, right? That he's going to die, be resurrected, that the temple will be knocked down, and then it'll be resurrected in 3 days. And the Pharisees didn't understand that. They said, well, took centuries and centuries to build the damn temple. How the hell can you build it in 3 days? And he wasn't actually talking about that temple, right? He's talking about his body, dying and resurrecting and come back to life in 3 days. That's what he's talking about. But they just couldn't get it, They just didn't get it. Yeah, that's why he spoke in parables. Yeah, and in this Mauro's opinion, it is fundamental to know what it actually says. Yeah, that's right. Know what it says, know what you're talking about before you go out there and say, blah blah blah, this is the truth, because you might not be telling the truth, right? You may have got it completely out of context, or it's completely contradictory, or whatever.
Dopodiché possiamo stabilire se ciò che voleva
Then we could discuss if what it meant to say is reliable or coherent. Yeah? Is it logical, based on fact? If we like it or it makes us feel better, everyone is free with his consciousness. Okay, everyone's they're entitled to their own opinion, perspective, interpretation, whatever befits them.
Ci fa vivere bene, ok, di lì in avanti ognuno viaggia per conto suo con la sua coscienza. Però l'importante è sapere
what is important is to know what is actually written. That's true. As a language has meaning as it tells us something. If you don't, like with Aramaic and Hebrew, they have idioms, right? Which is a Middle Eastern thought expression that's brought forward, right? If you don't understand, or you don't know what those idioms mean, you don't understand them, then you don't know the Bible as well as you think you do, or as you claim or boast you do, right? Okay, so you got to know what they, because those authors, scribes, they spoke and wrote using a Eastern mindset, right? Raised as children to adults with this Eastern mindset, traditions, customs, all that sort of stuff, that language, right? So they think with an Eastern mindset, right? And they express themselves with the Eastern mindset. So us Westerners, being educated with a Western mindset, through that Western education system or whatever, we don't think like them. But these scholars, theologians with that Western mindset are trying to interpret Eastern scriptures using a Western mindset, right? It doesn't gel. It's not like diesel and water. The two don't mix. Understand? No matter how much you try, and that's why you get these take it out of concept, misunderstandings, errors, translation, all that sort of stuff.
Significato in quanto ci racconta delle cose. E dicevo che la Bibbia non parla di Dio per un motivo anche
strutturale. And he said the Bible doesn't talk about God because that's what he found when he translated, for a very, very simple structural reason.
Strutturale molto molto semplice. La Bibbia è scritta in una lingua.
The Bible is written in a language that doesn't have a term for God. It hasn't, right? As I say in my other videos, there's no word. Even Victor N. Alexander, the Aramaic writing and speaking translator, filmmaker, states on one of his videos the story of Adam and Eve, that there was no, even on his website, there was no word for God. God was not in the original Aramaic or the Hebrew, nor was Jesus. Okay. I don't think Christ was there either, but that's Greek for oil, so yeah. So yeah, I don't think it was too worried about that one. But yeah, the other two, there's no God, there's no Christ, no Jesus in the original Aramaic and Hebrew. Those words, right? Yeah, the Bible is written in a language that doesn't have a term for God. It hasn't, as I just verified.
Non ha il termine Dio, non ce l'ha. E quindi
so you can't talk about bread in a language that hasn't the term bread, right? If there's no like word in there for bread, well then you can't be talking about, well, it says, you know, bread, house of bread. You know what I mean?
Diciamo che non si può parlare di pane in una lingua che non ha il termine pane. Non si può descrivere.
You cannot describe how bread is done in a language that hasn't the terms for flour, water, nor the verb term paste.
Come si fa il pane in una lingua che non ha il termine farina, acqua e non ha il verbo impastare. E la Bibbia è così.
In the Bible is
cioè,
like
l'Antico Testamento è
the Old
scritto in una
Testament is
lingua
written
che
in a
non ha il
language that
termine
has not
Dio,
the term God, nor eternity,
non ha
nor
il
the verb
termine
to create.
eternità, non ha la parola creare, tantomeno creare dal nulla.
Even less to create from nothing.
Nel senso che il
Meaning that
termine
the
che viene
term
tradotto
translated
con
as to
creare,
create,
che
that is
è
bara,
significa
always means in all the 33 to 34 times used in the Bible, and not only there. Yeah, I think Victor Ian Alexander explains bara, okay, from the Aramaic, and yeah, it actually does in the Aramaic, I'm pretty sure, to create. In the beginning, as the beginning, the Son of God created. Yeah, so I think that's probably what it is. You have to go look at the story of Adam and Eve video by him, with him speaking on it, and I'm pretty sure he explains it. Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, meaning that the term translated as to create, that is the bara, always means in all the 33 to 34 times used in the Bible, and not only there. It's not there. Okay.
sempre, in tutte le 33-34 volte che compare nella Bibbia, ma non soltanto nella Bibbia.
In tutte le but in every Semitic language always means to intervene in a pre-existing situation to modify it.
Se voi leggete gli studi dei rabbini,
if you read the rabbi studies, for example, there are those among them in Jewish, American or Israeli universities.
Per esempio, c'è tra di loro, tra i rabbini docenti universitari nelle università giudaiche, americane e israeliane, per esempio scrivono nella
who write in the Jewish Publication Society, the top of the rabbi's global knowledge.
Nelle pubblicazioni della Jewish Publication Society, quindi siamo al top dell'intelligenza, diciamo, rabbinica mondiale, scrivono che il racconto della
the story of the Genesis is a story of a series of partition, not of a creation. What already exists is divided.
Genesi non è altro che il racconto di una serie di suddivisioni, non di una creazione. Si suddivide ciò che già esiste. Cioè sono intervenuti per
some have intervened to order an ambient they were interested in. Okay. So what's that intervene? It's like come in between, right? Or stepped in to order an ambient they were interested in, or something that they had a liking for or inkling for. Okay, that they were totally interested in, yeah, basically. They wanted to put across.
In un ambiente che, diciamo così, a loro interessava. E quindi l'hanno ordinato, l'hanno modificato per poterlo.
So they modified it, those who the Bible talks about, to utilize it and to make it livable.
Utilizzare e per renderlo, quegli individui, insomma quelli che hanno fatto, come ci dice la Bibbia, per renderlo vivibile. Che la Bibbia
that the Bible doesn't have the term eternity is written in dictionaries. It is not his imagination. Okay, so possibly, what do you call those things? Concordances or something like that. Yeah, probably doesn't have the term eternity. It's not there, and he's verifying it's not his imagination or a fantasy.
non abbia il termine eternità, è addirittura scritto nei dizionari. Quindi non è un'invenzione o una fantasia mia. Se voi prendete il dizionario
If you take the Dictionary of Jewish and Aramaic of the British Biblical Society and research the term olam or alam,
di ebraico e aramaico biblici della Società Biblica Britannica e prendete il termine olam che viene sempre
always
tradotto come
translated as
eternità,
eternity,
la prima cosa che c'è scritta è non
the first thing you'll
tradurre
find
come
is
eternità.
do not translate as eternity.
Cioè, è la
As
prima cosa
eternity.
che c'è
The
scritta.
very first thing written,
Non
nevertheless everyone translated it as eternity. So that's what they're saying, do not translate it as eternity. Yet everybody is. Everybody does.
tradurre con eternità. Tutti lo traducono con eternità. Perché? Perché si parte dal presupposto
Why?
che siccome la Bibbia parla
Why do
di
they do
Dio,
that? Because if you start with the idea that the Bible talks about God, there must be the concept of eternity. But there isn't.
beh, allora il concetto di eternità ci
Yeah,
deve
but it isn't.
essere. Peccato
Well,
che
there
non
isn't.
ci sia.
That concept.
Capite?
Alright, you
Che
understand?
la Bibbia
Even the
non
Jewish
che
exegesis
l'ebraico non
writes that the
abbia
Bible, the
il
Jewish
termine che indica
has the
Dio,
term God, not the
lo
term
scrive
God.
anche
Doesn't
l'esegesi
have it.
ebraica. E lo scrive l'esegesi
The
ebraica,
same Jewish
diciamo quella
exegesis
che
said,
non è
of course, is not my
propriamente
friend.
mia amica,
On the
anzi,
contrary, it's the
lo
opposite.
scrivono per esempio nei forum
They
di
write in it,
consulenza
for example,
ebraica
in
dove
the
appunto
Cinisello
si
Balsamo
analizza
forums where they
tutto
analyze
eccetera,
everything he
e
says
io in uno
and
dei
right.
libri avevo scritto nella libera
When in one of
nella
my
Bibbia
books,
non c'è il
his books,
monoteismo, e la risposta
he wrote that there is no monotheism in the Bible.
è stata
Doesn't
ma
exist.
come si può parlare di monoteismo?
They respond that, of course, there is no monotheism, so they're admitting to it. How could it in a language that doesn't know the concept of God? So they both agree on it.
Monoteismo in una lingua che non ha neppure un termine che indichi il concetto di Dio? Siamo assolutamente d'accordo. Infatti nella Bibbia non solo non c'è il monoteismo, non c'è neppure il politeismo.
Not only in the Bible there's no monotheism, there's also no polytheism as well. See, there's no theism included. There's no theism as well. Okay, so these are all made up. Okay, made up that they're in there when they're not.
Nel senso che non c'è proprio il teismo. Il teismo è un concetto introdotto dalla
Theism is a concept introduced by theology or theologists. It was all made up. Okay, it's all created later on. Eventually, that
teologia. Successivamente abbiamo sentito parlare prima di platonismo, neoplatonismo.
we've heard before about Platonism and Neoplatonism, etc. From those old philosophers.
Eccetera, che ha attinto a piene mani
That
appunto da
has
queste
largely
filosofie.
drawn from these
Cioè,
philosophies,
l'idealismo
Platonic and Neoplatonic
platonico, sulla base di
idealisms,
quelle si costruiscono
or
mondi
isms.
spirituali.
And from there you
Non
can
dico che
build
non
up
esistono,
spiritual
attenzione,
worlds.
io
He's
non-
not saying they
ripeto,
don't
quando
exist,
dico
of
che non parlo
course.
di Dio, non intendo dire, o che la Bibbia non parla di Dio, non intendo dire che Dio non esiste.
When I say the
Se
Bible
Dio
doesn't
esiste
talk
o non
about
esiste,
God,
non lo so e non me ne occupo
Yeah,
neanche,
no,
perché
okay,
tanto
okay,
non
I'm
riuscirei a
still a bit
saperlo.
slow.
Se Dio esiste o non esiste,
You can make a bit.
non dico che non esistono, attenzione, io non ripeto, quando dico che non parlo di Dio non
Yeah,
intendo
he's
dire,
not-
o che la
he
Bibbia
said
non
that the
parla di Dio,
Bible-
non intendo dire che Dio non esiste. Io, se Dio esiste,
Oh my gosh, I'm slow on that one. Maggie.
costruiscono mondi spirituali. Non dico che non esistono, attenzione, io non ripeto, quando dico che non parlo di Dio non
Yeah, he's not saying that the spiritual world doesn't exist. When he says that the Bible doesn't talk about God, he's not saying God doesn't exist. It's just that word's not in there. Okay, there's no term for God in the Aramaic or Hebrew scriptures. As I said
intendo
earlier,
dire, o che la Bibbia non parla di Dio, non intendo dire che Dio non esiste. Io, se Dio
That
esiste
word's
o non
not in
esiste, non lo so.
he doesn't know
Non lo
that.
so e non me ne occupo neanche.
He doesn't know if he
tanto
exists or not. Okay, he doesn't know. He doesn't deal with it because he doesn't know. He couldn't know.
riuscirei a saperlo, quindi tanto morirò senza saperlo. Se poi ci
We
sarà,
die without knowing. If there is, he will tell me.
quindi non me
Right?
ne
God
occupo
himself will
proprio,
tell
nel
him.
senso che io preferisco occuparmi
I
di
prefer
cose
to
sulle quali
deal
almeno
with things that theoretically, it should be theoretically, I think. At least I could fully understand in the end. Right?
teoricamente potrei in un certo momento
Yeah.
avere una risposta. Su Dio no, e quindi lascio
Theoretically.
stare. Se poi c'è,
Theoretically.
me lo dirà. E quindi
So in the Bible there is no theism, a concept from the Greek theos. That, remember? Right? So it's not there.
non c'è proprio il teismo. che è un concetto che arriva appunto da theos in greco.
So in the Bible there's no theism, a concept from the Greek theos that, remember, we just covered that.
Non era neanche un sostantivo, ma era un aggettivo.
It wasn't even a noun but an objective that indicated some with certain features.
Delle caratteristiche di individui ed è legato alla radice ebraica theaoma.
And it is related to the Jewish root theomai, that means to see.
Vedere. E in greco antico teoria
in fact, in ancient Greek, a theory is a group of people sent to observe, guardians, vigilants, probably spies.
Un gruppo di individui inviati ad osservare, cioè guardiani,
or spies,
vigilanti. Capite?
Then it took the article O becoming a noun meaning God, but originally it didn't.
Ricevuto il sostantivo o theos ed è diventato Dio.
Yeah.
Ma in origine non era così.
The O-ology.
Quindi questo è
this is what you deduce, this is what you come to understand from the ancient Testament, Old Testament. That is the Book of Chronicles. That is a book, it's chronicling everything, right? Of what happened. Yeah, it's a chronicle.
Ciò che si ricava dall'Antico Testamento, che è un libro che ci racconta delle cronache. Ci racconta delle cronache.
Chronicles about the relation between a family, not a nation, because God didn't take care of the Jews.
Che è relativa al rapporto tra una famiglia, non un popolo. Perché Dio non si è occupato degli ebrei. Dio si è occupato di un nipote di Abramo.
God took care of Abraham. He took care of Abraham's nephew. He says God, to be clear. God took care of Abraham's nephew. You kind of hard to understand these subtitles. God took care of Abraham's nephew. He says, Mauro says, God, to be clear, Yahweh took care of Abraham's nephew.
Bravo. Dico Dio perché
God took care of Abraham's nephew. He says, God, to be clear, Yahweh took care of Abraham's nephew.
Termine che usiamo tutti. Yahweh si è occupato di un nipote di Abramo. Perché altri nipoti di Abramo
because other Abraham's nephews were objects of interest of Yahweh's colleagues who the Bible nominates.
Uno si chiamava Camosh,
one was Camosh, another Milcom, so Abraham's family was divided amongst at least three of those individuals.
Di quei personaggi. La Bibbia ci racconta
the Bible tells about the relation between that family that we now know as Israelites and this individual named Yahweh. Okay, I thought he was like Ur of Chaldea, Mesopotamian in Assyria, and later on he meets merges with Heber, right? Who's supposed to be the ancestor of the Hebrews, forefather of the Hebrews, or father of the Hebrews, and then later on Joshua. Well, Abraham has a descendant, I guess. Jacob, whose name's changed by God to Israel, and then that's where the Israelites came from. So I think there's two separate tribes there, the Hebrews and the Israelites. Yeah, I think there's two different ones there, by the sounds of it.
Rapporto tra quella famiglia, che conosciamo come gli Israeliti, e questo individuo di nome.
The Bible tells about the relation between that family that we know now as Israelites and this individual named Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Is that their God? Who indeed is the first great ascertained anti-Semite in history. I don't know how that works out.
Il primo grande, storicamente accertato antisemita della storia. E nel mio ultimissimo lavoro,
he hypothesized and asked the jurist, because he's not a jurist, but yeah, people, that sort of mind.
Sulla base
if it isn't possible according to the jurist principles elaborated and used for the process of Nuremberg, to institute a process against that God, right? For crimes against humanity, genocides, femicides, infanticide, selective femicides that he perpetrated and made to perpetrate. So yeah, I've heard this sort of argument before from an atheist who liked attacking Christians all the time. That this cruel God should be put up on charges for all these crimes that he did. This is what this guy's here saying, basically. Shouldn't he go to trial? He's asking people that are jurists, shouldn't he go to trial for that? For all the genocide and stuff that he's committed, all these crimes, murders
per crimini contro l'umanità,
against humans.
per i genocidi, i femminicidi, gli infanticidi,
and the people
i
that are made to do
femminicidi
it.
selettivi che lui ha perpetrato e fatto perpetrare. E chiedo se non sia possibile, in subordine,
So, and he asks if it isn't possible subordinately to institute a process against his representants and followers for advocates' crime, because they're what is he saying? They're basically saying, yeah, he's all justified. We should do it also, different formats. If you don't believe, well, we should kill you, or that sort of stuff, Yeah, that's their belief in the, I think it's in the Babylonian Talmud or something like that. Yeah, certain people should be killed for certain reasons. It's like a non-belief or something like that, maybe. Yeah,
mettere sotto processo i suoi rappresentanti e seguaci per apologia di reato. Sapete che c'è
you know that there is advocate crime. For example, if someone defends fascism, who defends fascism is put under process. It's like let's say Islam, for example, the jihads, whatever, not jihads, extremists. They go around doing all the killings and stuff, beheadings, whatever. Shouldn't they be put to trial, right? Or not even that. Like if they're saying something like, "Yeah, well, you're infidels, you're dogs, whatever," you should be put to the slaughter. That sort of stuff. Shouldn't they go up on charges like that? Or Allah said, or God said, this should be done, which is a murderous act. Okay, in the text, and they believe it. Yeah, because God said it. We should do it too. Shouldn't they go up on adherent charges? Who are defending it? People who are defending it, saying yeah, it should be done.
Apologia di reato, cioè l'apologia per esempio se qualcuno difende il fascismo, no?
If there's an advocate crime, for example, if someone defends fascism, is put under process, right? Examined.
Sotto processo per apologia di fascismo. Ecco, io chiedo, ho già avuto qualche.
He's asking if it isn't possible to think to proceed in that way. Yeah, if you're saying, you should kill this person, kill that person for religion, because Allah said so.
Perché la Bibbia non è altro che
because the Bible, or God said so, because the Bible is only the constant documentation of genocides after genocides, en masse, right? Killing, murder.
Documentazione reiterata, continua di genocidi.
That's what he's saying, right?
Di genocidi.
Genocides committed by Semites against Semites by order of a non-Semite. This is the Bible.
Commessi da semiti contro semiti per ordine di un non semita. Questo è la Bibbia. E i semiti che venivano massacrati.
Yeah, and Semites who slaughtered were the slaughterers' cousins. So like in Genesis, right, they all spread out, what do you call them? Shem, Ham, Japheth, coming out of the ark. Their wives had descendants, had children, right? And then those children had sons and daughters, and those children had sons and daughters, and those children had sons and daughters, and just carried on and on like that, right? So there was like all these different tribes. They're all related. So they come from that one source, supposedly. But certain factions would go out there and say, well, we really want that land, they've got plenty there, la 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 la. So they go and attack them and kill them, their own cousins. That's what he's basically saying. Semites killing Semites. For territory, gain, whatever.
Erano pure cugini dei massacratori. Cugini primi. Perché si massacravano.
Because they killed themselves among cousins, uncles and nephews for territorial disputes. Yeah, they wanted that land, that belongs to us, we want it. You got what we want, we're going to take it. Land or plenty, whatever. And they're apparently ordered by their God to do that. Like, give you this land, but you've got to get rid of the Canaanites. And here's the excuse, because they were idol worshippers and sodomizers, all that sort of stuff. Evil, blah blah blah.
Tra cugini, zii e nipoti, per questioni territoriali. Quindi di questo
That's what the Bible talks about then if the Bible wants to say something else, that's fine. It's okay.
Parla la Bibbia. Dopodiché, se la Bibbia vuole dire altro,
That's what he's found that's talking about, right? But, you know, if it wants to say something else, well, that's okay. If someone else comes up and says, no, it doesn't say that. It says this. Well, that's okay.
benissimo. Sono secoli.
For since you say told us what the Bible wants to say, and it's fine, everybody will choose freely. Yeah, because if they're telling you in this, they've told you and sold you on what they want you to know, right? What they want you to hear, so that they can, I don't know if they've got a hidden agenda, motive, whatever, or it's full propagandist. They just want to control you, right? Dumb you down, keep you under their boot heel.
Viene raccontato che cosa vuole dire la Bibbia.
But that's your choice.
E va benissimo, ognuno poi sceglierà come
Believe what you want to believe.
Però la Bibbia dice questo.
Yeah? But the Bible says something. It might say something else, right? Completely different.
Il resto forse lo vuole dire. Questo lo dice di certo.
Yeah. The Bible definitely says something, but it might say something else underneath all the layers, right?
Quindi questa è la
This is the point.
sostanza del
That's what he's
discorso.
getting at.
La considerazione
The
che
subsequent consideration, to consider it, think about this.
Si fa e che è diretta conseguenza è che se Yahweh non è Dio,
If Yahweh isn't God, and luckily he isn't, and given what that the Bible doesn't talk about original sin, there is no original sin in the Bible. Probably wondering,
devo
why is
dire
that?
che
I'm
per
sure there
fortuna
is.
non lo è. E siccome la Bibbia non parla di peccato originale, cioè non c'è il peccato originale nella Bibbia, allora ci si chiede,
Then we have to ask, whose son was Jesus Christ? As the church tells that he was Yahweh's son.
Gesù
Jehovah's
Cristo
Son.
di chi era figlio? Visto che la Chiesa ci dice che era figlio del Dio Padre e il Dio Padre è il cosiddetto Yahweh biblico. E se non c'è il peccato originale,
And if there's no original sin, why was Jesus sent here?
perché cosa è stato mandato qui Gesù Cristo? A liberare l'uomo da una macchia che non c'è? Di lì in avanti tutto
It's a
procede a
domino
catena.
effect.
Io per il momento non mi
For
occupo
the moment,
del,
he doesn't
del
want to
Nuovo
deal with the New
Testamento.
Testament. He
Mi,
limits it
limito
to the old one,
all'Antico Testamento.
right? Because that's what
Teniamo
he's majoring
presente
in.
che tra le varie
Keep in
cose
mind that
curiose
among all the
che
curious things concerning
si
the Old
verificano
Testament,
attorno
there is
all'Antico
this one.
Testamento, c'è questa. Tutti i racconti delle
All the
origini,
stories about the
cioè
origins,
da
Genesis in
Genesi,
particular, are nothing more than
Genesi,
reworked copies of ancient
non sono
Sumerian,
altro che
Akkadian, or Phoenician
copie
texts.
rielaborate.
That's very true. They've adopted them and adapted them. Okay, a lot of people will tell you that. I found that myself from my own personal research. That's a fact. All these older, 1,000-year older, 3,000-year older mythos of the Sumerian, Akkadians, Babylonians, or the Phoenicians texts, right? The Hebrews, etc., Mesopotamians, have got hold of it. Okay, maybe being descendants of them anyway. They got hold of it and they've adopted it and adapted it. You know, changed the names and events. You know what happened, etc., etc., to suit their religious ideals or idealisms or isms, right?
di testi sumero-accadici o fenici più antichi. In particolare la Genesi.
Specifically, the Genesis is copied from Atrahasis, Enuma Elish, and the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, in the flood story, creation epic. That's what these are, right? Atrahasis is the Babylonian one of the flood. Very short about the Noah's Ark, or the Ark and the flood and all that. Epic of Gilgamesh is where this king, actual king, Gilgamesh, legends around him, myths, that he had a heard of a stronger guy, because he was like pretty pompy, all strong and all this sort of stuff. Take anyone on. He heard that there was this wild man that was really strong in that, used to run with the animals and stuff. So he sends out this maiden. She lies in the grass, it's all soft porn type stuff, and attracts him, right? And so he lays with her, the animals run away, and then she ends up, they capture him, take him back to this king, right? And he has to go with the king, with Gilgamesh. They have a good battle, good wrestle, whatever, and they become great friends, bonded, right? And then they go to some forest, a cedar forest, and the gods, pantheons of gods, have placed this Mambubu, or what his name is, can't remember his name, this demon monster thing, protect the guardian of this forest, right? These cedar trees. So they fight it, and this Enkidu, Gilgamesh's friend, he's fighting it, battling with it, and Gilgamesh is like, oh no, we should, we're going to lose, la 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 la. But this Enkidu's like determined to kill it, right? So they keep fighting. He says keep fighting, and then they eventually chop its head off, kill it and chop its head off. And the gods, they walk off, go right? I don't know if they took their head or whatever, but they killed it. And then the gods found out, the pantheon of gods, and they says, hey, someone's killed our prize beastie. Whoever did it, and we find out who it is, they're going to pay, they're going to die, right? A life for the life of that beastie. So Enkidu dies, and Gilgamesh is all sad, right? So he heard about this Upanitism, what his name was, and he was immortal, survived the flood, so he went to go find that guy to find out why he became immortal and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and that turned out to be Noah. The Hebrews, the Jews, whatever, adopted that story, and then they adapted it. Well, they adapted it, and then they adopted it, changed a few details, and then he got the Noah's Ark story, right? Its name changed to Noah because in Palestine there was a name that sounded like that. Can't remember exactly what it was, but it sounded so close to Noah. So that's what it was called in Palestine. Yeah, and it went on from there.
È copia rielaborata dell'Atrasis, dell'Enuma Elish e dell'epopea di Gilgamesh. Ora, tutti noi che abbiamo studiato storia.
So when at school we study the Sumerian history, we are taught that those are allegories, myths, legends, which they actually are.
Quando ci sentiamo raccontare appunto la storia dei Sumeri, ci sentiamo dire che quelli sono allegorie, miti, leggende. Quando ci si parla della Genesi, ci viene detto che questa verità è ispirata da Dio. Per cui siamo all'assurdo di avere gli originali che sono dei miti. Questa verità è ispirata da Dio. Per cui siamo all'assurdo, storia dei Sumeri, ci sentiamo
myths, legends.
Può dire che quelli sono allegorie, miti, leggende. Quando ci si parla,
but inexplicably, when they talk about Genesis, talk to us about Genesis, they teach us that it's true. It's the truth, inspired by God.
Della Genesi ci viene detto che questa verità è ispirata da Dio. Per cui siamo all'assurdo.
So we come to the absurd claiming that the originals are myths. The original myths are myths, or the originals are myths, and that the copies that are truth inspired by God. The copies, right?
Di avere gli originali che sono dei miti, le copie rielaborate sono verità ispirate da Dio.
And adapted